Well, good morning, everybody. It's February 3rd, 2025, and the favorite time of our week because it's Mondays with Bev and Paul. And hi, everybody. My name's Paul.
Good morning. This is Bev.
Good morning, Bev. How are
Good
you this
morning,
day?
Paul. I am just lovely today. Thank you.
Do-do, 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 do-do. All right. So here we are, another Monday, and we're going to talk about BioTouch for Crisis, since that's the big buzzword going around the world right now.
Everybody knows it.
Yeah. But first thing we always want to do this year is we want to start with putting someone in the middle of our dream catcher, the 12-12-12 dream catcher. And this week we have one of our staff members and board members, Eileen Webster. And
Yay.
yeah, she's been with us for quite a while now. She does all of our PR work too. All those beautiful posts you
Yes.
see are done by her. New posters in the center she's designed. Quite the designer. Very
Yeah,
meticulous in her design work.
she is.
So she's in the middle of the dream catcher. We're going to put out the juice to Eileen. And if you'd like to be in the dream catcher, send us your name with a picture or someone that you think could use a little bit of dream catcher energy. And we'll put her in the middle, put them in the middle. I have an interesting one coming up in a couple of weeks you'll really like.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. I've been going through photos and stuff. I found this great photo. So, but anyhow, that's for the future. Right now, let's talk about BioTouch for Crisis. And we always, it's an interesting, I think we've talked about it recently. I don't know how recently, but we always talk about it in the CP class. We have a question: what is crisis, right?
We do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's always pretty neat to see people's idea of crisis and then how they deal with crisis. What are the tools? So it'd be nice if you want to comment. What is a crisis to you, and what are some of the tools you use when you come into a crisis? So let's talk a little bit about a crisis, since it's a word a lot of people are feeling these days, and
I think if you've been on the planet, you're going the other side of everything is always going to be a crisis. It's a crisis just being here.
right.
And now it's just more ramped up because more people are shifting their consciousness and looking at things and listening and paying more attention.
I,
But crisis has always been there. It's part of the human experience, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good one too. It's just we're more accessible to what's going on all over the world.
Oh,
It's no longer just in your little
the
community.
internet, man,
Yeah,
has
the
we
internet
get
and
to
these social
experience each
medias.
other's
Yeah, it's
stuff.
I mean, I remember when we started the thing called the World Wide Web.
You're
And
right.
I thought in the beginning, oh my God,
You
that's what
had
it's going to
no
be.
idea.
You're right. This.
Well, I read years and years ago, this lovely editorial back in the early 90s when the web was just, getting out there. And she said, pay attention because this is the nervous system of the planet.
Hmm.
And at the time, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting thought. Well, all these years later,
Yeah, and so how can we deal with this nervous system that's in tension right now? Attention is giving us some tension,
right.
and one of the things we always talk about in our class is, and it's in our workbook, that the Chinese manual, there's a Chinese character. When you have it one way, it means crisis, and if you switch it with a and read it the other way, it actually means opportunity.
Opportunity.
So the same character can be switched to use for opportunity or crisis. And then I liked what you said. You heard this woman give a talk recently that talked about harmony beyond conflict.
Yes, yes. That was a real catcher for me because that particular thought form, the old way of looking at it is called harmony through conflict, which implies that in order to achieve peace and and harmony in our lives, we have to go through the conflict. But the other way, harmony beyond conflict kind of infers that we have a choice, which is really for me what BioTouch offers us when we begin to practice it more in our lives. The thing, it's so interesting because you and I were talking earlier, crisis is a demand for change.
Right.
A demand for change. Otherwise, we wouldn't be needing to experience things. Everything is change. It's the only constant in our lives is change. If you fight against it, you're going to create conflict. If you decide to look at it as an opportunity to grow beyond and achieve harmony, this, for me, this is where BioTouch can come into its own magic. Because in that practice of BioTouch, touching lightly on the body, where everything's held, all the crisis is held in that body. Okay? Yeah. So when you start to touch it in love, it responds and begins to what? We call it self-awareness. You cannot change or grow until you are present with yourself and see what needs to change
Right.
so that you can grow. So BioTouch offers us opportunity in a crisis. Most of the time when we look at the body, we think of it as a healing crisis, but healing happens in all of our parts, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, in this great division that we perceive happening with ideas and
Action.
perceptions, to take those two fingers. And this is another reason why we touch another human being. I mean, self healing is a nice concept, and it doesn't require us to bring anybody else into our so called field, right? But
Right.
that's why we're here. We're here to bring people into our field. We're here to relate. We're sentient beings. We feel with one another. And the greatest thing we can do in times of conflict of philosophies, ideologies, physical conflicts is to ask someone to help us, to bring someone into our field, or to offer. Many times when I'll see things on the internet, oh, I need help. Oh, can somebody da 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 da? I always offer BioTouch, because that's something I can do freely. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost anything. I
In the
can get,
moment. Yeah.
yeah, I can, get on a Zoom meeting with somebody and in 5 minutes show them what to do for their perceived crisis.
Right.
And when you touch another human being, as you just said, in love, you go beyond the crisis. Even for a moment. That's why it's not something you just do one and we slap people on the forehead and they're better.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Um, the one concept, the one divine idea that humanity has forgotten, and in many cases never really, as a group, has not had a lot of instances where it has been programmed into us. But the truth is, we are here as a group.
Right.
And so a foundation of our changing our old paradigms of the separateness, which leads to fear. When we really start understanding that we came here as a group of beings, not individually. This is, I think, one of the messages that BioTouch can give us because it demands one person touching another person, not
Right.
across the room or whatever. It is an actual contact between two human beings. And, as Gary Schwartz so lovely implied in his foreword, his preface, when we touch each other and love each other, we are contributing to the betterment of the whole planet.
Right. Right.
We are part of the living organism called the planet.
And so that's, I think, why we just address the body. And you know how many times I've sat with people who've had maybe different philosophical, religious, political beliefs differences. But you know something, when I'm in that room or I'm touching that other human being, you know, that we're here together, none of that matters.
None of it
None of it
matters.
matters. It doesn't get in the way of healing. You don't have to believe in biotouch. You don't have to have a belief system in what healing means. You just touch and
Yeah.
watch the story unfold.
Unfold. Yeah.
Yes. We don't have to manipulate. We don't have to diagnose. We don't have to give our opinions or you know, tell people to go buy a dozen different vitamins or supplements or do or don't take this vaccine or not take a vaccine. People know what they need. We don't
Yes.
need to be another information source. You got more than enough of that in this web.
Right. Oh, Lord, yes.
Our job here with sharing BioTouch is to give everyone the opportunity to meet their own crisis, get in touch with it, open up to their own self-awareness, and then act on whatever it is that comes to you and realize you can't make a mistake, really.
No,
You know, you
no. The
can
body
only,
knows.
yes, and you might act on it and have a reaction. Okay, I was just talking to a dear friend. He did this, you know, thing. He took this blood work, and then his body's like totally freaking out now, and then he's wondering if he did the right thing. Well, you did the right thing when you decided to do what you decided to do.
Right.
Your crisis now, you know, there's an opportunity to go beyond it. You know, the harmony that's beyond the crisis.
Yes.
And BioTouch, though I can't be with him physically, I will definitely do as much as I can on the just thinking about him.
Right.
But hopefully he'll get BioTouch here real soon because it can help. It can help him ease and live in his momentary crisis to find out what's the opportunity here. What can I do next to help
Yeah.
this body live in this existence on this planet with everybody else? Like I always say, we're just bozos on the boat.
Right. Well, and we have to expect that, you know, having said earlier, change is the only constant. It doesn't mean that you sit around expecting crisis all the time.
Right.
What we have to understand in it is, first of all, crisis is relative. What might be a crisis to somebody might not be to me, okay? And this is what brings us back into our own personal self-awareness. Okay, I'm going through a crisis. For me, this is a crisis. Well, you know, if you're practicing biotouch, it gives you a whole nother way of looking at this experience, because that's what it is. It's an experience in evolution. The crisis comes because we have hit a wall of some kind, and we
Oh,
are needing to go beyond that wall into something more wonderful, something healing, something more loving, something more supportive in our lives. Stop fighting it. You know, biotouch can help us to love ourselves into a healing.
right. So, you know, if it's a physical crisis, I mean, I worked with my mother. She was in a physical crisis. She died on the table. They brought her back to life. She's in a coma. I worked on her. 6 months later, she's walking on a beach in Hawaii. I was at a party once. This woman's, you know, it's a formal party. She eats some shellfish. She starts swelling up. Somehow I did biotouch and she stopped swelling, you know.
Yep.
The guy on the ground who's flopping around having an epileptic attack, you know, I run into the middle of this huge crowd and do a couple of sets of points and he pops out and then here come the EMT and I disappear and they go, who was that guy? You know, so or
That
the
masked
simple
man.
crisis on the physical level of just the flus and the colds coming around, the stomach virus, you know, or you eat something, you get, you know, just a little biotouch. We're not talking but a few minutes here, you know, if that,
Right.
you know, to
Right.
help in those kinds of crises. And then when you move to these emotional crises that take toll in our body, as you talked about, just if there's a pain in my body, just touch around that, do the local work, and people will figure out their own emotional release, figure it out in their brain. What's the past trauma? Whether they figure it out on their own and they have a therapist they're working with, they'll come to their own awarenesses and make changes in their life that are best for them. And that's what we're just trying to get across to people. Listen and act.
Yep, absolutely.
So, one of the other great crises is trying to get BioTouch out there in the midst of all the cacophony, or whatever we call it.
Challenge.
Yeah. And
in this world of people running around wanting, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to have this and I want that and I need that. We expect to go through a crisis, I guess, and we're just freely offering something that can literally change your life.
Yes, we've seen it.
What is up with that?
Over and over. So we're asking you, for our crisis of trying to get this out there.
We're in a crisis.
Is just take a moment. We have this wonderful Mary in Nigeria who's making little 1-minute videos, easy to send to people, easy to post, easy to put as an attachment. Let us know. We'll send it to you so you can send it to somebody else in an email. So, just sending these little 1-minute blips to people, 1.5 minutes at the max. People have enough time to listen to that. Just forward it, like it, come to our YouTube page, make a comment, just, hey, I'm hearing you. Those are the kinds of things that will get BioTouch out there. So when all these AIs, whether you're dealing with the US AI or the Chinese AI or the Moon AI, one of the reasons I got involved in the internet in the beginning and putting so much on our website was because I wanted AI, when we asked questions about our health and our well-being, one of those things that would come up would be, try BioTouch. And sure enough, if you put it in there, it goes, well, there's not a lot of research, but this is all the possible benefits that you can have with BioTouch.
Yep.
So we're here every Monday trying to give you the benefits of BioTouch. We can only share it with you. If you go to our website, there's a whole list of health conditions. If you just want to deal with a couple of sets of points, you can join us on our workshops. We have one coming up here at the end of this month. We're going to re-show the lymphedema and lymphatic health with Hillary Gooden. I remember that one. that was a
good one.
Yeah, and she's got real simple things to do, along with we'll teach you some of the sets of points that will work with lymphedema and all kinds of lymphatic health. That will be on the 27th. We run those at 6 p.m. Or those are also on the website. Just go up there where it says health conditions, and you can pull down lymphedema and see it even right now if you want. So let us know how we can help you. We're here. We're trying to just bring peace, love, and tie-dye to the planet.
Come on, let us.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us into your home, on your phone, on your tablet. We'll be here again next week. Thank you, Bev.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. See you next week. And there's our song.
If pain has got you down and you live in town, take a trip down to Pima Street. The people down there are people who care. They will get you back on your feet. Put love into action. Put love into action. If you ever want to have any real satisfaction, choose love while you still can. Don't even try to understand. A healing grace in your own hands. Put love into action.